VOC_22_pollution_001. In a small coastal town, there was a stretch of beach that locals boasted about to anyone who would listen. It was their piece of paradise, untouched and pristine, until the day the refuse from a neighboring city began to wash ashore. Household waste, toxic and radioactive materials once buried in a nearby rubbish dump, were now spilt by heavy rains into the sea, spoiling the waters and the land irremediably. The local fishermen, whose livelihoods were inextricably related to the sea, found their catches dwindling. The fish either poisoned by the lethal waste or scared away by the unbreathable air filled with poisonous fumes. This disaster was not just a threat on their environment but a direct hazard to their community's health, as reports of an epidemic started to emerge, linked to the consumption of contaminated seafood. The mayor, once proud of his beautiful town, now faced a dire environmental crisis. He recognized that to sustain the town's economy and its residents' well-being, drastic measures were necessary. A pledge was made to clean up the beach, involving every able-bodied person in the town. A massive cleanup began, with volunteers donning protective gear to dispose of the hazardous waste properly. Garbage disposal units, previously scarce in the small town, were installed at every corner. A ban on dumping waste into the sea was strictly enforced, with heavy fines for polluters, in hopes of cutting out the scourge that threatened to wipe out the town's very essence. Despite their efforts, the damage seemed irreparable. The once clear waters were now a murky gray, and the sands were spoiled by tar and debris. The picturesque beach, a former haven for tourists and locals alike, was now disfigured, a visual reminder of the havoc wreaked by carelessness and profligate waste disposal. The situation was made even more tragic as the town's savings, accumulated over years for sustainable growth, were now diverted to combat this ecological disaster. Efforts to clean up, though well-intentioned, could scarcely make up for years of environmental neglect. The natural balance was disturbed, leading to dire consequences for the marine ecosystem. In a last-ditch effort to prevent further damage, the mayor introduced initiatives to promote ecologically sustainable habits among the residents. Carpooling was encouraged to reduce congestion on the roads. Non-polluting substitutes for common household products were introduced, and a campaign to educate the public on the importance of not wasting resources was launched. The town's dustman became an unlikely hero, advocating for responsible waste management and teaching households how to separate their domestic waste from recyclable materials. Yet, the threat of irreversible harm loomed large. The community realized that their way of life was jeopardized, and that only through collective action and a commitment to ecologically sound practices could they hope to restore some semblance of the beauty that had once defined their home. It was a hard lesson in the importance of preserving the environment, one that would stay with them evermore. For in their quest to repair the irreparable damage, they found that the true hazard was not just the toxic waste, but the mentality that allowed it to spill into their lives, threatening to deplete their most precious resource, the planet itself.